This CD contains the opinions and thoughts of certain independent sales directors. The information shared with you by these individuals are their own ideas and strategies regarding the cultivation of a successful independent Mary Kay business. The independent sales directors hope that you find something in this CD to inspire you and to help you succeed in your own independent Mary Kay business. Naturally, your personal results may vary depending on the time and effort you choose to invest in your Mary Kay business. As with any business opportunity, various factors may affect the financial results that are achieved in your Mary Kay business. Therefore, there are no guarantees regarding same.
Almost every form of communication is a presentation, and even small improvements can make a big difference. Independent National Sales Directors Pam Shaw, Pam Tull, and Linda Toupin will offer tips on small changes that could make a big difference in your teaching and presentation skills.
You have to connect when you teach. And so whether you are on the telephone, whether you are talking one-on-one, whether you are in a group situation, skincare class, having coffee and giving the marketing presentation, having your holiday open house, no matter what event or activity that you are doing, we want to be ready for whatever opportunity presents itself to us. And then we want to be able to transfer. It's one thing to develop that skill, but ladies, then we must transfer that skill. So are you ready? We're going to do the top 10 tips. Tip number 1, you have to be prepared. That is important. Some people get nervous because they lay awake at night. I slept like a baby last night because I'd written this out and gone over and read it. I wanted you to get something when you leave these doors today. You've got to be physically prepared. So I am rested. You want to get a good night's sleep, not getting up and writing what you're going to say 5 minutes before you go on. Have you ever done that? It's nerve-wracking. And people know. They know because they're sitting there going, I could have said that. Well, she really spent a lot of time preparing that. You want your body to relax. You want to breathe deeply. You want to eat. You want to drink lots of water. This will help you to prepare physically and mentally and do a great job. We have to refuel. We're giving and giving and giving and giving. And if you keep giving and you don't refuel, you will deplete. And that's when that burnout happens. It's also important to be mentally prepared. Know your topic. You'll be a confident presenter for sure. Visualize the positive outcome. I'm going to give you 5 little presentation points. When you're organizing your thoughts, 1, wow. That's point 1 is wow. You have to get your audience's attention. 2, you have 30 seconds to do that. You have to present the opportunity. That's going to identify the specific need and their opportunity. Creating that need. You're creating a need and filling it. 3, hope. You've got to give them hope. That identifies the solution. And in Mary Kay, don't we sell hope? Hope, promise, and future. Pink jars and pink cars. 4, solution. How to achieve the wow. That answers the who, what, why, when, and where. And 5, the most important, the call to action. You got to close it. Closing whatever you are doing. And you're telling them what you want them to do. That's the magic.
So we're moving now from tip number 1, which is be prepared, to tip number 2, which is eliminate the unknowns. Basically, you just want to know more about your audience, the location, the logistics, etc. When you're at your own hometown and your own unit meeting, you're going to know a lot about the location, the setup, because you arranged for it. There are situations that you go into, though, when you're going with one of your independent beauty consultants at another location, you're at another sales director's meeting, she's asked you to speak and to run things where you don't know a lot about the situation. The main reason people get nervous when making presentations is the simple fear that they face of the unknown. You don't know what you're walking into. There are some unknowns that you can always take care of. I would like to say that as I go through this list, some of you are saying, you know what, I welcome unknowns every week, and I didn't know I was welcoming unknowns. I didn't ever think that I could take charge of these things that you just said. Temperature. When I'm setting the room temperature, I ask them to set it between 65 and 67, and the Shaw area knows to bring wraps if they are inclined to be chillier. And so I can always gauge by who's fanning and who's shivering that it's just about right. When I walked into this room, it was a little warm for me, so I asked somebody immediately, could we lower that temperature? That's important to me because if you are someone who can't think once you start sweating, that's important. And so you need to control that temperature. The room size and setup. You want to make sure that the room size and setup is the way that you want it. The sound system, that it's working. In this situation, I didn't have to come check that. Someone already had all that under control, but in your situation, you're probably the one doing the sound check. The music that you use in the room, making sure that it's at the right level, that it shows up at the right time and places, and that you've got someone delegated to do that. Another unknown is water and breath mints and a clock at the podium. You know, those are things that anytime you're in a situation that makes you feel uncomfortable because you're thinking about yourself and you can't focus on the other person, you're wondering about your breath, you're wondering what time it is, you need a glass of water, anything that distracts you from focusing on other people is going to be an unknown, and you want to eliminate it. And then who's starting the tone of the event? You want to make sure that your event that you're in charge of or that you're going to be speaking at, that you know how that's going to start.
Tip number 3. Make a great first impression. Make a first great impression. Begin strong. The audience begins to judge you in 15 seconds, and they make a first impression in 2 minutes. All right? You do not want to adjust your hair or clothing before you begin to speak. Watch how you walk. Watch how you walk to your podium. Watch how you walk to the front of the room. You want to have good posture. You want to walk quick, look straight ahead. That gives people confidence. When you look down, you look frightened. When you look up, you look like you're praying. When you look from side to side, you look nervous and dishonest and shady. So walk with confidence and, again, good posture. You want to make eye contact when you begin to speak with people. Eye contact should take as long as it takes to say the word hello. The visual of you becomes stronger than actually what you're going to say. They're going to be ready to hear you speak. After a brief pause of being introduced to the microphone, then you want to, what you have told the audience is you're not rushed. You're in control. You're on top of the situation. You're confident. You're professional. Make sure that your eye contact smiles. Smile with your eyes. It makes people like you. Along with making a great first impression is having a strong beginning. Remember that there are 3 things that audiences love. And it gets their attention if you give them all 3 quickly. 1 is respect for their time. Let them know early on how long you're going to be talking. For instance, in the next 15 minutes, I'm going to show you this. All right? Number 2, an audience loves rapport. Remember, people want you to succeed as a speaker. Trust me, they're there. Develop rapport by connecting with immediate participation. Share an interesting statistic, ask a proactive question, comment on a newsworthy event, or tell a personal story that relates to the subject. And 3rd, entertainment. You do not have to be a comedian, but you got to have at least a sense of humor and laugh at yourself. Almost everyone enjoys listening to someone who captures attention with humor. Now, if you were here on time this morning, you noticed that I was out in the audience with you. I did that on purpose. I would be there early so I'm not fidgeting with all my stuff, and I would have the music blaring and going. And you guys, be careful about your music. But if you'll notice this morning, I was back there greeting you and welcoming you and having conversation with you, because as the people are coming in, I'm trying to feel what they're feeling. I'm trying to make a heart connection. It's hard to make a heart connection up here, okay? Now, it's a lot easier to make a heart connection down here. You want to be moving around people and touch. I mean, people will tell you whether they want you to touch them or not. And you got your touchers and then your people who body language says, don't get near me. All right. Now, those 3 things are important. Remember, you got to do them quick. And it's what makes the audience love you. Respect of time, rapport, and entertainment. Tip number 4. Develop the ability to have split focus concentration. Develop the ability to have split focus concentration. The 3 greatest fears in life is death and taxes and public speaking. So it is very normal to be fearful of something until you've done it a number of times. So in order to protect yourself, you want to have a very, 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 very strong opening. And a very, 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 very strong closing. That is why when I teach, I don't really care what they do in the body of the skincare class. Body of the skincare class is irrelevant. Makeup is makeup. You put the mascara here, you put the blusher here, you put the lipstick here, it's done. A good skincare class opening books the party, sells the product, recruits the guest. Overcomes every objection before anybody gives it to you. So what you do in the body is irrelevant. And then the close. So to develop the ability to have split focus concentration when giving a speech or teaching a class, you got to remember your brain is coping with an overload of information. You've got your subject matter, you've got your visual aids or products, props, you've got your personal concerns about your family you've just left, things that happened before you walked out of the room at your house. You've got the hot and the cold of the room. You've got the lighting in the room. You're trying to gauge the audience's interest. You are trying to figure out, am I talking too fast, talking too slow? Am I moving my hands too much? You've got distractions. You've got people coming in and out of the room. And you're gauging your time. So no wonder your brain is like freaking out. Well, the things that have been proven to help when these distractions are going on in your brain, you can access your memory bank by simply doing some things like moving around, using your hands, coming down the steps, walking down front, getting up, sitting down. All that movement helps your brain work better. Once you kind of get warmed up, then you'll see that the more you move around, the easier it starts to flow. You've heard people say, I kind of got into it. Well, that's what it means. I got into it. My body's into it. My mind's into it. I'm not having to think about what I'm going to say next. It just comes out of my mind. You want to convert your stress to energy. The energy it takes to be stressed can be better used as an energized freedom. It will create a mindset of power and preparedness and brings you to a state of readiness. We want to breathe deep. That will stop your panic reaction. It slows down your heart when you breathe deeply. It eases your muscles. It stabilizes your breathing pattern, gets your blood flowing to your body and in your face, and sets a balance of high energy and a feeling of well-being. Again, I want to encourage you to study teachers and speakers with a different set of eyes. Watch people and say, why was I engaged right then? What did she or he do that got my attention? Why did I lean forward right then? Or why did they lose me? Because that's the answer of what you will want to do or not to do. And sometimes people say, well, what if you get a teacher and you just don't really like her? You will learn more from her than everybody else of what you don't want to do. Because it's not that she isn't good. She wouldn't have been asked to be a teacher, but she doesn't know how to transmit what she knows. So why doesn't she know how to do that? What is she doing that makes it incapable for you to follow her so that you can do the opposite? Tip number 5 is to utilize dramatic persuasion. Utilize dramatic persuasion. Before any presentation, ask yourself the following 3 questions. What do you want the audience to feel when you're finished? Number 1, what do you want the audience to feel when you're finished? Number 2, how intense do you want the emotional experience to be? Number 3, what do you want them to do with what you say when you're finished? What action do you want them to take? This is where your personality is not your best friend. Your personality is not your best friend. It doesn't make you a good teacher. If you have a very strong, deep personality, then you come across very direct and curt and bossy, and people will back off from that. If you're a high I, you begin to look silly after a while. You're no longer fun or cute. You look silly. Number 3, the S's. You love on people so much that they are perfectly happy never being successful because God loves them and I'm sure they'll die and go to heaven. Okay? And then the C's, overload them with too many details. So whatever you are, it's irrelevant because you must teach all 4 personality styles. Absolutely, unequivocally.
Tip number 6, pay close attention to your voice. Be sure to modulate carefully and project adequately to reach the entire room. The one mistake I see directors making all around the nation is that they do not pay $35 for the microphone. You can create so many effective emotions with your voice. I'm telling you right now, I just got back from Phoenix, Arizona, and you would not believe the excitement and the number of women in the room of that convention center in Phoenix in those director suits, and I can see you guys in that director suit. So tonight you're thinking, I'm one of those women. I have a giant on the inside screaming to get out. You can't do that without a microphone. And if you don't understand the difference, how many of you were with me on the exciting part in the beginning? How many maybe almost got a goosebump in the end? You see what I'm saying? Maybe a little one somewhere. You've got to understand that your volume, loud, soft, your tone, high, low, your rate, fast, slow, the inflection or monotone, it totally will make a difference in the receptiveness of the way your audience hears what you're teaching. Volume. Okay, volume. I start my guest event just like this. Are you ready to dream again? Soft. $100 is not going to change your standard of living, but it sure could change your life. People who get in this rut day after day, doing the same thing that they do not love day after day, working a job they don't like for a boss they don't respect, coming home to a family they've missed, giving them the leftover of their best, day after day, that rut becomes a grave. Volume. Inflection. This means expressive. You know what? All my life, I walked to the right. All of my life, I walked to the right. And then one day, my roommate Candy in Florida, I walked to the left. Have you ever walked to the left? That's inflection. Monotone. One of the biggest thrills for me was to get that first car, pink Cadillac. And on my way home to Kentucky, December 18th of that year, I parked that pink Cadillac in the front of the school building where I had taught. And I went into the cafeteria at 5 minutes until 3, and I waited until I heard her say, "Would the person driving that pink Cadillac please move so the buses can pass?" And I got out of my seat and I got in my beautiful pink Cadillac, and it was a really sweet day. I use monotone to describe my principal because everybody has one of those people in their lives and they resonate with somebody telling them what to do. So I would have a microphone in the room for as few as 15 people and maybe fewer. Tip number 7, know your audience. You don't want to make assumptions about your entire audience so that everybody can hear what you're teaching. Because if you make an assumption about your audience that is not universally true, they shut down and don't hear another thing that you say. So that's why you've got to give a variety of if this and if this. When an audience feels safe, appreciated, and valued, then growth and learning result. When an audience feels safe, appreciated, and valued, every single individual member. When classes are focused on a particular topic without jumping from random thought to random thought, and when both humor and storytelling is used, learning results. Now, let me combine that because we use humor and storytelling, but a lot of time that results in random jumping from thought to thought to thought. Oh, that reminds me. Now, those of you who are more C-style in the room or D-style in the room, you're like, no, don't go there. You were on a number next. And so only the eyes are going, oh, that is so funny. And then, so you got to recognize your whole audience, which is be prepared, but then incorporate the humor and the stories.
Tip number 8, the final impression. End with emotion and energy. that ending, that call to action. And there's so many ways, where are you going to be? Look at your feet. Have them look at their feet. Where were you this time last year? Where are you going to be this time next year? 5 years from now? If you don't move, nothing changes. Insanity is what? Doing the same thing and expecting different results. Don't let it die at the end. Have that powerful close, that strong call to action where they are convicting, where they're standing. They're like, I need more information, and that type of thing.
Tip number 9, have a finale. Let your audience know that you are finished with your words, and they know that by your movements. Use a strong downward inflection with your final word. Say thank you. Your body language gets to be a little bit more humble. Thank you. Naturally, what I do, and I've seen different speakers do different stuff, but what comes naturally to me is when I am finishing, I'm so humbled that I've been asked to share. And my body language says it by the way I bend my head down and I lower my voice. And I just want to humble myself, humbling ourselves before the audience, just to let them know that they're loved and that they're safe and they're appreciated, that I'm honored to be their teacher.
Number 10, make a recording of your speech. When you can listen to yourself and evaluate as objectively as possible, you truly can get better. I remember when I first started recording myself, and it was the most repulsive sound I had ever heard in my life. I could barely hear the content because I was so unaccustomed to the way other people heard my voice, and I think we've all probably experienced that at this stage. But I used to record myself every time I talked, and I have tossed countless recordings to get the 20-something messages that I actually share with my area. But giving yourself constructive criticism so that you can have a better idea of how to improve the next time, the next thing, really is very helpful, especially if next time is next week. You want to not repeat over and over and over and over the same challenges, the same mistakes, the same errors. The question is not, do you have a situation this year or a problem this year or something that concerns you this year? The real question is it the same thing that you had last year? Because if it is, you want to be that problem solver and make things happen, adjust things. So give yourself constructive criticism and maybe have a buddy that you trust evaluate so that you could also be helpful. When looking objectively, here's what you want to dissect from yourself. I'm going to give you 5 things to maybe ask as you're listening to yourself. If you videotaped yourself, which I think is a good idea from time to time, did I make any unnecessary or distracting movements? That's a good one to ask. Number 2, did I maintain good eye contact with the audience or did my eyes wander around a lot? Number 3, was my voice too loud or too soft? Number 4, did I appear confident in my topic, subject matter, and stories? And then number 5, did I stay on topic? Not all great speakers and teachers are born. A few perhaps, but most are made. Most are made through hard work, imitation, practice, perseverance, repetition, and commitment. Communication is one of those skills that sets good and great leaders apart, so it's a skill worth investing hard work and time in. I might add, it's a skill that's never finished. When you think you've taught something and you think you did a really great job doing it, yet you don't see the fruit of what you know that you taught.
Not all great speakers are born. Many of them are made. That tight little rosebud that Mary Kay talks about. And she comes in and she builds that self-confidence and she opens and blooms. They are made through hard work, practice, perseverance. Being a great communicator is one of the tools that makes a great leader. And so it's something worth your while and time to invest and put energy in to grow. I learned so much by watching Mary Kay Ash. I still watch all the videos, the DVDs. What I love about Mary Kay, the woman, she had this tiny little voice, this soft voice, but it was a very exciting voice. She knew how to inflect her voice, didn't she? And to wink her eye and point her finger. She could use her eyes and her body and speak to you without saying one word. That's what I love. That's a gift. Mary Kay was real. She was sincere. She was down to earth. She always had humor. She always started with something fun. Do y'all remember that? When she would say, I don't know about you girls, but I go to bed Elizabeth Taylor. and wake up Charles de Gaulle. And we just laugh. And it's like, oh, she's just like me. Connect. She would connect.